In this video, I'll explain how the shared experience setting works and how to use it to maximize experience gains. While designed to support, to enable solo or small party play, it can also be levers for an advantage. Many players rely on this latter tactic in higher difficulties of both Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous. Yet it's rarely used beyond the prologue, at least for Wrath of the Righteous. I'll break down how to best make use of it. You'll find the shared experience setting under Options, Difficulty, and then only active companions receive experience, which you can toggle on or off. It does not affect the overall game difficulty or achievements. With overall game difficulty, I mean game difficulty setting. It can make the game easier. It does make the game easier. And yeah, you're free to toggle it on, so you're free to toggle it on or off whenever you want. Off, all companions, active or not, receive experience equally. On, only active companions receive experience. And when you're running with fewer than 6 characters, the experience is divided among them equally, meaning a party of 3 gains double XP per member, while a solo character gains 6 times the XP. With the setting turned to on, newly recruited companions join at a level that aligns with the game's intended pacing. This means they'll be underleveled. Toggling shared experience off before recruitment ensures they match the main character's level instead. This is the aforementioned abuse. Because this setting can be toggled at will, there is no immediate downside to keeping it on until you've recruited 6 companions, only doubling it off the moment before recruitment. As mentioned earlier, many players take advantage of this in the prologue and early Act 1. A more advanced approach involves deliberately leaving companions behind to maximize XP gains before reforming the party through new recruitments or leave and rejoin events. This video explores the mechanics and considerations behind this latter strategy, helping you better assess its potential and possibly apply to your own game. Leveling mechanics. Experience in Pathfinder is rewarded for defeating enemies, completing quests, and passing skill checks. The amount needed to level up increases over time, meaning that while solo or small party play provides a sharp XP boost early on, its advantage diminishes as the game progresses. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine a hypothetical game, not Wrath of the Righteous, with 20 levels and a party cap of 8. In this game, we level up each 60 monsters we kill. Suppose a player switches to solo at 32 monsters killed, so at level 3, gaining 8 times the XP per kill, before going back to a party of 8 past 160 monsters killed. With no XP scaling, they would level up every 2 monsters and heavily outpace regular leveling, as you can see on this graph. However, if the level up costs double each level, and monster XP also doubles every 16 kills, as not to affect the regular leveling, the graph changes quite a lot. Initially, a solo player still levels up quite fast, but gradually, it slows down. To clarify, let's zoom in. The first level up requires 2 monsters, as before with no scaling. But now our XP requirements have doubled, so the second level up will require 4, as we are still killing the same XP monsters. Similarly, the one after this requires 8. We are now 3 levels above our intended level, so our level up costs are 8 times higher, which matches our boosted 8 times XP gain. So for a bit, we are at the regular pace of 60 monsters for each level up. However, once we kill 2 more monsters, we're past that 60 monster kill threshold. Monster XP doubles. We're back to just 2 levels ahead, and so it takes 2 plus 7, 9 monsters to level up. As we approach being consistently 3 levels above our intended level, we start to practically level at the same rate as regular, 16 kills per level. This also means our relative level advantage diminishes. Our peak advantage is right here at the start, where we have twice the level. But at this later point, it's now only 1.357 times. Once we go back to having a full team, we are now both at a higher level and back to normal XP gain. As a result, our level progression completely stalls out, at least until we approach the air quotes intended level for a full party. The extra experience we gained earlier becomes increasingly negligible due to the scaling, and given enough levels, we will eventually get back on the regular leveling curve, unless we reach the level cap before then. This means our level up advantage is temporary. We essentially give up power early on, especially right at the point we go solo, where we are the weakest, as we're still at the same experience but without our full party. We essentially give up power early on for a large, temporary power spike later on when we get our party back together. We are also arguably strong around here due to the large relative level difference, while also being weak just before getting the party together. We could of course fix the latter weakness by recruiting, if possible, part of our companions earlier on. This would result in a graph like this. Finally, for those interested, here are the graphs for different scaling amounts. One might expect that going solo would make the game nigh impossible at the point where we do so. However, the very beginning of Act 1 is full of easy, no or low combat quests and events with large XP rewards, allowing for a quick boost in levels right away. I believe this is a very deliberate design choice, specifically made to enable solo play. Without these quests, a solo play would be extremely difficult and likely not worth it. So, here we have these quests. Beginning with Stolen Moon, there's no combat involved, unless except ambushes on the way. It is a companion quest of WOTR. This means you have to take him with you, you also have to recruit him. In case you plan to make use of WOTR before Act 3, you might want to delay this quest, as the longer you delay the recruitment of companions, the higher level they will be. Next is an event rather than a quest. I mean, it's tied to a quest. I forgot the name. Help gather allies for the Grey Garrison. Something like that. It is to help the tieflings in the market square. They are trapped, and it's a simple athletics check, and it gives a lot of experience. It's quite far from where you enter the market square. However, you can sneak around to tougher combats. Feud of the Faithful and Starward Gaze are 2 more quests that can be done completely peacefully, optionally. Doing Starward Gaze peacefully does require leaving the market square, at which point you are forced to recruit Nino. Since these quests are very interconnected and quite complicated if you're looking to maximize the experience gain, I will be doing a separate video on just these quests. Spies amidst our ranks. Receive this quest during the prologue. To complete it, in Act 1 you have to go to the Tower of Estrod. There you have what would normally be a pretty challenging fight. However, thanks to a bunch of skill checks and the help of Graper, it actually becomes a very easy fight. The Outcast, that is the Kailasa, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, quest. For Act 1, this just means talking to Forn in the tavern and to Kailasa in the market square. Upon recruiting a companion, there's two options of what to do with them. You can bench them. This will keep them underleveled until a leave and rejoin event, or you can bring them along with you, which leads to less experience as you have more members in your party. Thus, if you want to make use of a companion early, but don't need the immediate power spike that comes from increasing the party size, delaying recruitment as long as possible is often optimal. And so, knowing the recruitment deadlines is very useful. Daeron, Ulbrich, and Ember can all be delayed until before the Grey Garrison, the final dungeon of Act 1. For Ember, you have to avoid her and her attackers until you're ready to recruit her. Killing the soldiers and then leaving might result in her disappearing. On the other hand, for Daeron, you can complete the fight at this manner at any time. You only have to delay speaking to him. Ulbrich's recruitment is triggered by a cutscene. This cutscene happens after you talk to the storyteller and then leave and re-enter the tavern. Voljiv and Nino, unfortunately, must be recruited earlier. And Nino's recruitment is forced upon leaving the market square, while Voljiv must be recruited before the tavern fight, or he will flee from the dungeon during it. In Act 2, there's only two companions, Social, who is automatically recruited after speaking with the Queen at the start of the act. Since you can't leave the camp before speaking with the Queen, delaying his recruitment isn't an option. Rajul can be recruited after assisting the Hell Knights in defeating the gargoyles at the cave. While I haven't checked how long you can delay going there, the timing is largely irrelevant. If you aren't taking Rajul to Lepersmile, you'll likely won't have a use for him until Lost Chapel anyways, since they are pretty close together. Since everyone leaves and rejoins at Lost Chapel, you might as well recruit him right away. Then there's several leave and rejoin events that give an opportunity to bring one or more previously benched companions back up to the main character's level, or not necessarily benched companions as companions behind you in experience. The first one is at Lepersmile. Upon entering, a storybook event lets you send either an NPC or one of Regil, Lan, or Social on a distraction mission, if I recall correctly. If you choose a companion, they will leave your party or bench. After defeating the Escaver Queen, the chosen companion rejoins, and with shared experience they will do so at your main character's level. The second such event is Strike from the Sky, where all companions, except Voljiv, are abducted by gargoyles. During this quest, you rescue them one by one, first at the camp and later at the Lost Chapel. Voljiv, true to form, flees, and you don't see him till Act 3. Not all builds are able to handle the game on solo, so let's briefly discuss the types of builds that can. First, builds that can do Act 1 through 2 and even beyond. Starting with the well-rounded, mounted Gish. I say mounted, but this character actually probably remains unmounted until level 7, as a more tanky animal companion is generally preferable over a horse. The goal of this type of build is to cover all essential roles within a single character. Desirable features include an animal companion as a tank. It enables outflank and provides frontline, allowing the main character to focus on offense. A spell list with strong buffs. Buffs are crucial for any build. Melee combat class features. Melee combat is less feat intensive, making it better early, especially for GIS classes, which have fewer feats than full Marsoc characters. And finally hexes, mainly protect the flock, which significantly boosts the animal companion's survivability. The classes I would recommend are the following. All of these are 3/4 base attack bonus classes with full choice of an animal companion from level 1. A Wildland Shaman, in my opinion the best choice, as it's the only of these that has hexes. Also a full Divine Caster with a strong buffing spell list. Oracle with Nature Spirit. Another full Divine Caster with excellent buffs. A Sacred Huntmaster, a half caster with a good spell list, solid combat features and access to domains. Finally Hunter, also half caster. Very front-loaded in both class features and the spell list. This means it's strong early but somewhat weak late game. For a full solo run, Merged Angel is probably the best route to take. This requires a full Divine Caster, which means from these 4, either Wildland Shaman or the Oracle. Another type of build that's capable of soloing the game is a Vital Strike Stealth Archer. The core mechanics of this tactic revolve around Vital Strike, a high damage standard action attack, and a move action stealth or invisibility ability. Since both a standard and a move action can be used in the same turn, you can attack at Vital Strike and immediately stealth again, meaning you remain undetected, or I guess technically you become undetected again. Regardless, enemies don't attack or move towards you. There's several class abilities that enable this tactic, though most of them are acquired too late to be of practical use for a solo or partly solo run, as do other abilities obtained through other means. The exceptions to these are Shrouded Step from Witch of the Veil and possibly Forester's Camouflage. A Shrouded Step is a move action invisibility, and you get it as soon as level 2, so you can start using it right away, even in the prologue. There's several differences between stealth and invisibility, but as far as this tactic goes, there's only one thing that really matters, and that's that invisibility provides a +20 bonus to stealth checks, which is used especially early game. Forester's Camouflage allows you to use the stealth skill, which is an out-of-combat move action, in combat, but only in favored terrain. This makes it far more restrictive than Shrouded Step, especially after Act 1 when 3 more additional terrains come into play. Also, without the +20 from invisibility, enemies can detect you a lot more easily, even with maxed out stealth. This means you have to maintain a greater distance, which is not possible for all encounters. Finally, it's only unlocked at level 7, requiring you to find another way to handle most of early Act 1 solo. Other class abilities that enable this tactic arrive far too late to be relevant for early game soloing. I just included them for the sake of completeness. As for fully soloing the game, there are actually a lot of Witch of the Veil playthroughs out there if you search for them. I haven't looked at any. I also haven't attempted one of my own. I believe the key to doing such a run is stacking initiative and having a plan to deal with late game enemy, with enemies that have true seeing, which is most enemies late game. Now, you don't need to solo the game all the way to Lost Chapel to take advantage of solo XP gain. You could complete the aforementioned Burligim quests and then recruit Acton companions to do the rest. There's 5 of them. With that in mind, let's consider a type of build for soloing early Act 1 only. the kiter. A ranged build focused on kiting enemies by leveraging high movement speed and vital strike, the latter being optional if you're mounted, but still very good. The reason such a build works at all in Act 1 is primarily due to two factors. The first one, large maps, mainly the market square. It's large enough that you can even comfortably kite ranged enemies. The second one is enemies lack haste, a notable exception being the market square necromancer. A big challenge for the kiter is dealing with ranged enemies, especially on smaller maps where there might be enough space to kite melee opponents, but not ranged ones. A notable example of this is the forced Ninyo Enkai encounter upon leaving the market square. Thus, a key item for the kiter is Darkveil, a belt item that grants total concealment against ranged attacks for 1 minute once per day. Some example builds would be any horse-mounted archer build. The mount speed allows for kiting. And another one would be a forest ranger with vital strike, which is my current build. It uses Longstrider for speed, or if Longstrider isn't available or there's not enough time to buff, Animal Focus Stack gives a little bit of move speed as well. This strategy only works in early Act 1. Eventually one is forced into encounters that you simply cannot kite due to limited space. Now that we have an understanding, a rough understanding of how the shared experience mechanic affects the game, now that we know the recruitment deadlines and the leave and rejoin events, that we have a sense of what certain characters can handle solo, it's maybe time to consider some experience optimization strategies that make use of this information. Let's start with the simplest, minimal planning needed, minimal worries approach. We keep the prologue party together, we recruit new companions mostly as they become available, and we disable shared experience once we have 6 members. This prevents underleveled companions and allows you to swap them freely. But even with this approach, there are some optimizations we can make. For example, we start by doing the Atelier and the Tower of Estroth before going to the Market Square, but not Wolz's quest as we want to delay his recruitment, so he'll be higher level once he joins us. Once we get to the Market Square, we do as much as possible before leaving it, as we are forced to recruit Ninyo at that point. We can even consider siding with Hullrun to complete both Feud of the Faithful and Starward Gaze without leaving the Market Square. Then we proceed to do as much as possible before being called back to the Terrified, which is the last chance and thus the optimal time to recruit Wolzif. At this point we have a party of 6, so we can turn shared experience on for the rest of the game and stop worrying about the whole thing. One of the main advantages of this approach is that it can be done by any character and doesn't commit to using only certain Another option is to leave behind our prologue companions, complete the low or no combat quests, and then recruit Act 1 companions for the rest of the act. Since we still want to delay Ninyo and Wolzif recruitment, we'll follow the same route as in Option 1, assuming our build can handle it. The arguably biggest obstacle is the forced Ninyo encounter when leaving the Market Square for the first time. Without it, we'd be able to avoid all hard fights and thus use any main character. We don't have to do the Atelier and the Tower of Estroth fights. Unfortunately, a forced moderate difficulty encounter, which the new encounter is, means we need a build that can handle that fight solo or together with Ember. The previously mentioned kiter can do this by leveling up in the Market Square where it's strongest, and using Darkfield. Since there are 5 companions in Act 1, we'll have a full party by its end. The old prologue companions do remain underleveled, but we can eventually have them leave and rejoin us during Strike from the Sky. The next one requires an actual solo character, as we'll be going solo all the way until the last dungeon of Act 1, the Grey Garrison. Just before the Grey Garrison, we'll recruit Ember, Ulbrich and Dayron. Nino and Volgiev will be benched, as their recruitment cannot be delayed as much. A side effect of this is that we can do Volgiev's quest right away, the Stolen Moon. It has no combat, gives a decent amount of XP, and gives us access to Finian, who at the very least will be very helpful in the market square against ghosts or shadows, maybe. I believe they are called shadows. Recruiting just before the Grey Garrison makes us very strong for that dungeon. Now, during my solo one, I didn't find the Grey Garrison particularly difficult. At this point, I had a major relative level advantage compared to a regular run, as well as just hitting a natural power spike in my class build. Still, there are reasons to recruit just before the Grey Garrison, beyond just having a different build that might not have a natural power spike at this point. First, some main characters may really struggle against Midago, mainly those that lack crowd control spells. However, a level 8 or higher Dayron will trivialize this fight for you. You can of course also just recruit Dayron. There's multiple in-betweens these options. This is not exhaustive. Second, this sets us up for Act 2's tougher battles. By then, our level advantage, the relative level advantage, starts to diminish, yet we face some of the hardest fights, and we only have 2 more companions available to recruit 2 new companions. I say only, tripling party size is pretty good. Regardless, the 2 companions are Social and Regil, whom we'll recruit, so we can tackle Leper Smile with a full party. After that, we can also swap one of our current members with Lan when he rejoins. And once we get to Lost Chapel, we of course get everyone up to level again. Option 4, we solo all of Act 1, but we do recruit Social and Regil in Act 2. And we get Lan after the Scaver Queen fight. So for the Leper Smile Caves, we do have a party of 4. It's only at Strike from the Sky that we regain a full party of 6. And finally, the last option, the Maximum Greed option, the most popular option for these types of plays, as we're naturally inclined to Maximum Greed. But remember, advantage is temporary. But basically, we go solo all the way to Lost Chapel, where we then have our whole party rejoin us. This will result in the strongest possible power spike for the Lost Chapel and the Dresden fights. However, the Scaver Queen fight and the Leper Smile Caves might become major hurdles. The difference between option 4 and option 5 is that option 4 we get a couple small power spikes and then a medium one, while option 5 we get a major power spike at the end, after which we are more powerful than in option 4. I just personally believe that while there are some very tough enemies in the Lost Chapel, mainly after a boss fight, the mini boss fights are very tough. I don't think we need that big a power spike, especially since it makes other parts of our game weaker. In the end, it mostly just depends on your build and your companions' builds. You know, where are they strong? Where do they spike? You want to avoid recruiting just before you spike, as you won't get any new levels for a while. And that's all I really have to say on the subject. It's, mostly theoretical. Hopefully you gain something from this. Some inspiration for future builds. Well, that's that. This final section is a bit of a last-minute add-on. Well, last minute, more like last day. Take some time to make these videos. And it's something I've only learned myself just now. It was mentioned multiple times on social media, on Reddit, which I was browsing, planning on posting my guide there as well. And since it makes use of the shared experience toggle, or can make good use of the shared experience toggle, I decided to include it. The subject matter is cheating the other. So after visiting Heaven's Edge and uncovering the truth about what happened there to Darren and his family and the demons, you can choose to confront Darren at any time in camp. This confrontation triggers a solo fight between your main character and the other. This is not designed to be a winnable fight. However, if you do defeat him, he grants you 185,000 XP. You disable shared experience, well, this becomes 1.1 million. For reference, when I was testing this on a solo character save, the experience jump took my character from level 12 all the way to level 70, gaining 5 full levels. A lower level character would gain even more. Since you visit Heaven's Edge shortly before Lost Chapel, you could trigger this fight just before Strike from the Sky happens, so you can bring all your companions up to this level. This will trivialize most of Act 3, never mind Lost Chapel and Resin. Now, as for actually win the fight, it's near impossible. If we take a look at his stat sheet, he has very high AC, high saves, very high saves, is immune to pretty much everything. This includes getting targeted by spells, and he might as well be immune to any spell that is affected by spell resistance, as he has 40 spell resistance, which we are not beating. However, there is a way to defeat them. The key is what's otherwise a pretty terrible weapon, the Disruption Nunchaku, available for purchase from the Skeletal Salesman. The Destruction Weapon trait makes it so that any undead creature struck by this weapon must succeed a difficulty class 14 will save or be instantly destroyed. Not that high of a difficulty class, and it's not a particularly good trait. But unlike most of everything, it does affect the other, as he is an undead. Of course, the chance is very low. First of all, you need to hit him, which, giving the others armor class, would require rolling a natural 20. And secondly, it's need to fill saves, which again means he has to roll a natural 1. Thus, the odds of success per hit are 1 in 400. You could lower this to 1 in 200 with the Fortune Hex, if you apply that multiple times before you start. This would require a main character to be a hexer. There might be some other ways to increase the odds as well. Regardless, it's going to take a lot of reloads to actually succeed. Here comes the second part of the cheese, and that is Magic Nullification, a mythic ability that removes all effects on you and grants you immunity to spells. Since the other relies entirely on spellcasting, at least as far as I can tell, I didn't have the patience to wait out his spells. Since the other relies entirely on spellcasting, this makes you functionally unkillable in this fight. All that remains is to wait for that lucky 1 in 400 roll. And it's a test character. There are some costs to this. First of all, Dare and Dice, a very fun and also mechanically powerful companion. A second, Magic Nullification is a pretty weak mythic choice. While situationally useful, losing all buffs makes it very suboptimal for most encounters, as anyone who has been ambushed in Act 3 can tell. Thirdly, the Nunchaku weapon proficiency is required. This means taking either a monk level or spending a feat on the exotic weapon proficiency Nunchaku. Anyways, that's the video. My next video will be on the Feud of the Faithful and Stargaze quests, so it directly relates to this video guide. I actually started writing that video when I decided to do this one first instead.